So, Emre, here we are.
Yes.
We're
2 years.
After 2 years, we're finally sitting down and, putting pen to paper, if you will. How are you doing, man?
Use that term. I'm good, man. Back in Istanbul. I was in the Mediterranean coast for a couple of months. It feels good to be back home.
Oh wow! You were actually able to travel this time, or around this time.
Yeah. I mean, the last couple of months has been quite fun. I've been to, I don't know, maybe 6-7 cities at least, and been on the road, like climbed a lot of mountains and stuff. It was really fun.
Wow!
No complaints.
I definitely want to hear about that. So give me a little intro about yourself, like where you're born, where you're raised, where you went to school.
Okay, I'm 27. I just turned 27 a couple of days ago, so I'm getting old. And I was born and raised in Istanbul. I traveled for 3 years, lived in France for a while, lived in Moscow for a bit, traveled 9 months in Asia, then came back to Istanbul. Now I have a couple startups that I'm working on. Also, I'm starting doing trade with South America, and a lot of crazy stuff going on in life. That's the short version of my life, pretty much.
Well, yeah, it definitely sounds like you have a lot going on. So to those that will actually be listening to this, you and I met in Indonesia about, 3 years ago? Something like that?
I think so. Yeah, 3 years.
And I believe one of the days that you and I met, were you with some friends from Russia at the time?
Possibly, yes. Yeah. It was actually about my birthday time as well, so like exactly 2 years ago. Because it was my 24th birthday, and I was trying to drink for 24 hours straight, but I had Bali belly, so that didn't go out as good as I imagined.
That is definitely a tall order. I can't imagine drinking for 24 hours straight. How far did you get?
Well, 5 hours, because I had food poisoning, man. I went 5 hours with food poisoning. That's how dedicated I was.
Oh my god. Well, at the time, so it's 2021 now, believe it or not. So this is around, was it 2017 when we met?
I think 18.
2018.
We met 2018 about February. Then I came back to Bali, and of course you were still in Bali. And, so a couple of months later, I came back, and I remember like the first night I came back, I dropped my bags at the hostel, and I came to Pretty Poison to see you.
Right.
And you were with like Loreen, Thomas, and the guys, and I just instantly back in Bali.
And quick shout out to the owner of the farm hostel, Cody.
Exactly.
Awesome place.
Nice. Yeah, incredible place, incredible people.
Yeah, I hope that they get back up and running in full force once everything settles back down with COVID. Yeah. So is it common, Emre, for people in Turkey to take a year or half a year to go travel?
Gap year is not a concept that we have in Turkey.
So
not at all.
So if it's not a concept in Turkey, what do people usually do?
They tend to go on holidays around Europe for like a day or 2 weeks. Like it's more touristic activity instead of traveling. They don't getting lost is not a concept. They plan, they have tours and stuff. The Turkish people, I mean, one, the currency is not very strong, so that doesn't allow people to travel as much as they want to. Mm-hmm. The second, the concept, the idea is that Turkey is pretty enough. You don't need to see a lot outside. That's how they think. It is pretty, for sure, but there's a lot to see outside as well. So health balance.
Right. When I was in Turkey, I definitely felt the national pride. The people that I talked to, everybody wanted to tell me all the best places that I could go to in Turkey. They never said like, oh, hey, you should pop over to Bulgaria or you should pop over to the Ukraine. No, they said this country has everything. And I think they're right. I think it's a very well-rounded experience in that country. But go for it. Yeah. So, I mean, what made you want to leave with that national pride? What made you want to go explore?
The first time I went traveling, I was 6. I went to States with my family, and I asked them, "Is it okay if we don't go back?" So to me, like it always made. I always fucking love this. I don't know why. Like I went to Paris the next time, and I was 8, and I went to Disneyland, and I got sick right after the first story. Then I got obsessed with Disneyland, so I had to go to Disneyland again and again. Then when I go back to Disneyland a couple of years later, I fell in love with Paris, so I had to go to Paris again. And it's just a loop that began. It just hasn't stopped yet.
Right.
Like I always like, anytime I travel, it feels right. And anytime I'm on the road, anytime I meet new people, it just feels right. So instead of questioning why it feels right, I just do the things that feel right for me.
Sure. I kind of understand for sure. I felt a similar restlessness in my late 20s, and that's what kind of catapulted me to go take what I thought was going to be 6 months, but turned out to be about 2 years of traveling abroad. Yeah, it sneaks up on you quick.
So the pictures of you with the first months of the travels and the time that I met was huge difference, man. 2 years make a lot of difference.
2 years makes a lot of difference. My mentality, I think, evolved, and I just started realizing how much I didn't know about the world and about what, the word travel always gets me with people because it's not a very descriptive word. You go ahead and say travel. It could mean anything from taking a weekend holiday to taking 2 weeks in another country to traveling for like 6 months backpacking through South America. Like the word is so nondescript.
We have a word for it in Turkish. We call people that travel with the intention of traveling the way that we do. It's called seyyah.
Well, when you say
we call them.
So seyyah. So when you say traveling the way that we do, what does that mean to you?
To me, it's not traveling for the purpose of traveling, not going somewhere, not taking some pictures for Instagram, not doing anything other than being. 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I heard you.
So instead, just forget about all the perceptions about traveling that's been taught to us. Being on the road, meeting people, meeting locals, just doing things that you never thought you would be able to do or even accept doing. Just anything that feels right. Being in the moment, I guess that's what it's going in the direction of this conversation.
Yeah. And
enjoying the moment.
And I think that's important for people. I think when they take the amount of time out of their routine or away from their career, or away from their families, a lot of the things that they thought were true somewhat dissolve, and they get to live a life that they see fit, that they see that interests them, and it kind of changes priorities. I've met a lot of people at the beginning of long trips, and I've talked to them a few months later, and that amount of time can kind of reshape your priorities. But
it reshapes the perception that you have about yourself.
Absolutely.
So all of a sudden, the things that you could do or you should do, they evolve as you do. So the time on the road. The road is just a metaphor in some sense of the time you get to spend with yourself.
Yeah.
There's no one else. Like if you get bored here, if I get bored in Istanbul, I can just call a friend and just hang out and chill. But when that happens in a village in Thailand, I have no other option than just saying hi to a random people.
Exactly.
Random Thai villagers. So that it's just an experience that you gain.
Right. And I definitely keep in mind that a lot of time people think that when you go to a X country, you're going to meet a lot of those kind of people, which is true. But because of the climate and the way that the world works, you meet so many people from around the world, but only if you have the time and only if you're open to the experience. Because if you're only there for 2 weeks, you got the whole thing planned out. You have to stay at this hotel and you're going to this resort and you're locked in. You're never really going to meet anybody. But a lot of budget travelers, people who stay at hostels or homestays, that's almost their number one priority, is to make friends. This conversation right now is happening because you and I made it more of a priority to meet people that were around us while we're in this different country than we did to say, oh, let's spend more money and stay at a really nice place and basically not meet anybody.
I think the percentage of cool people or the people that we get along with in the cool in that sense, of course.
I think like-minded is a good word.
Exactly. It's the same no matter where you are. It's a very low percentage, and it's a low percentage among the people that travel as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like every day you're gonna run into people that you're gonna click. I met 6 months in Asia. That was the longest I've been with full on traveling. I travel on and off. So I travel for a couple of months. I come back, recharge, get some money, and then go travel again.
Right.
Whereas in Asia, I went for 6 months, and in those 6 months, I met thousands of people. So I can meet like 15 people, 10, 15 people out of thousands is what I was after.
Right.
In order to reach that, I said, hi, how are you, to thousands of people. Right. Many of them that didn't even reply in any sense. And I was like, cool, I'll find someone that, values my being, that stuff.
Sure. I remember when we were in Indonesia, we'd go around, we'd meet people, and a lot of people were very fascinated with you being from Turkey because they don't meet a lot of Turkish people like on holiday or on vacation. Why is that?
Well, I mean, okay, let's look at the Scandi people. There are like a couple million of them,
right?
And
Scandinavian.
Shout out to Jonathan
and Lucas as well.
And Lucas, yeah.
Oh, I found out that I'm like 1% Norwegian, by the way.
I think I am a bit Scandinavian as well. My uncle got a test. Someone in my family went bad. I don't know, bro.
You know what's funny is that's always everybody's mentality when they see something that's not supposed to be there. They think it has to do with like infidelity, but who knows? Anyway,
I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I mean, so with the Turkish people, if you go way back, I mean, Turks they migrated from Asia to where we are right now into Europe as well. So we're nomads. Like so being a nomad within the culture, being on the move is within the culture. But when it comes to the modern day traveling, I can't say we take part at it. I don't know. It's probably because of the lack of English speakers in the country, because that blocks you a lot if you don't speak good English. And I cannot, defend Turkish people when it comes to this. I think that plays a huge role. Other than that, it's just perceptions about traveling. I mean, they rather go to 2 hot spots in Turkish man boardroom and spend thousands of dollars in a couple nights out instead of traveling and being in places and experiencing things. So which is cool as well. I mean, if they enjoy it, that makes them happy. Who am I to say anything? But to me, it wasn't right.
Right.
So I went the other way. I just any money that I could get, I just got a plane ticket and go, which is not easy to do because I have like 12 Schengen visas now in the last 5 to 6 years.
Right.
Because Turkey, I need my you remember my passport? You were making so much fun of me because of my passport.
What was I making fun of you about?
Because how awful my passport was, and I had to get visas to anywhere that I go. Comparing Turkish passport to
right. I remember now. Yeah, because the boundaries or the things that hold you up being a Turkish citizen are way greater than being a United States citizen.
I mean, I watch. So okay, there's this movie Midnight in Paris by Woody Allen. I watched that movie one night. I feel really pumped. I say, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna go to Paris. It takes me 2 weeks to go to Paris. After I make that decision, I gotta apply for a visa, prepare the documents, get the visa, and then I can fly to Paris and go.
Wow.
So spontaneous travel is not really an option, but still, there are a few countries I can go. Indonesia is quite friendly. I mean, that's the reason why I didn't go to Australia. I was forced to go to Australia to work, with all the backpackers in South Asia. And all they have to do is just fill an online form and get a working visa in Australia. They can stay for multiple months and do whatever they want. Whereas what I had to do was to go and take a TOEFL exam to prove that I can speak English and do all these ridiculous things to fulfill their requirements for people to come in, which I was thinking, if you don't want me to come, I will not. That's my approach to things. It's probably not the smartest one, because those are countries and I'm just a human being. But still, if I feel like I'm not welcomed in a country, I try to avoid it because I know there are countries that I'm welcomed.
Right. Do you feel like there are countries that are obviously more favorable towards Turkey and maybe the Muslim religion and other countries that are not? I mean, I know that there are, but what countries did you maybe realize were not so accepting of a Turkish citizen or Turkish passport?
Ukraine. It was the one that I felt most without it. I mean, which is really, I can understand. A lot of Turkish people go to Ukraine for tourism, So when you're Turkish, assume that that's the only reason why you're there. But I went there because I was studying Russian. I was going to move to Russia. It took me like anytime I meet someone that I had to explain them that I'm not one of those Turks. I'm like this kind of, I do this here, but I understand them. Trust me. I mean, when I was in Ukraine, I was doing my best to avoid Turkish people there as well. So
Isn't that so funny? That's a pretty standard practice for people who I've met that travel long term is they tend to avoid people from their home country.
yeah,
If
I mean,
if you're on a short holiday, you're like, "Oh, hey, we're from the same place." But if you're on a longer stretch, it's like the last thing as an American, the last thing you want to do is meet another American. So it's the same thing for you and Turkish people.
I mean, in some way, yes. In another way, because we don't have that many people traveling around. Every now and then, once you find the cool people, it's always nice.
So it's nice to meet like cool people from Turkey, when you're in Ukraine. Like what did you like most about Ukraine, or what were the kind of dynamics between what was welcoming and what was not welcoming?
Well, the thing is, I didn't meet that many cool Turkish people in Ukraine. That's the thing. The Ukrainian people were cool in general, but the food was incredible. The nightlife was really cool. My time spent there was beautiful. But the Turkish people there, I understand why they don't like Turkish people there. Once I met the Turks there, so it's understandable to say the least.
What is the stereotype, or what are the practices that they don't like?
I mean, the time I went there, it was you didn't even need a passport to go to Ukraine. So all you needed was the new ID, so you can just book a flight and go to Ukraine. So pretty much anyone who never got laid in Turkey just booked a flight ticket and went to Ukraine. So they fucking don't like Turkish people, which is understandable.
I mean, that is definitely a stereotype that some Americans have of Ukraine, that a lot of people go there to like find a wife.
Same here.
Okay? So that stereotype holds up. Where does that? I mean, in your experience being there, where does that stereotype come from? Why is that the case?
Because the Ukrainian women are beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much. I mean, it's a Slavic people. They're gorgeous, and overall, I mean, it's you can't compare them to Russians in some sense, as of the physical outlook. But
the language is the same, right?
What?
The language is the same.
Not really. They speak Ukrainian. Some parts. I mean, the parts I've been to, they speak Russian. I've been to Odessa. Mm-hmm. But they have their own language there. They have their culture. I mean, the history between Ukraine and Russia, that's a whole different story. So I can understand why they don't like to put in the same sentence.
Right.
But overall, I mean, it's just beautiful women, beautiful people, nice culture. They're adaptable. That's one thing. Overall, I don't know. I don't. I just spent 2 weeks in Ukraine. I don't think I have adequate information to tell why the stereotype is like that. But overall, I mean, I all I can say is I like them.
Yeah.
That's what I want to leave with at this, yeah.
I mean, in past conversations, you've spoken quite a bit about Ukraine, so definitely that 2 weeks had an impact on you. You definitely enjoyed it.
For sure.
Right.
I mean, Ukraine, Russia, I mean, to me, those are like 3.5 months that I spent because it was a completely new world. Because in the West, I'm pretty much like a Western Turk. I'm more used to the European culture. Of course, I have the Middle Eastern and Eastern culture with me. But with the West, the Russian history, the Soviet history, it's a big no-no. So people don't really know the history of those parts of the world. And until you know the history, you cannot really understand the people. So there goes the stereotype of, those people are weird.
Right.
You cannot understand them. They're different. No, they're not. They're just fucking human. But you just don't know what, shaped them into these beings that they are. So before I went into those, entered that world, I studied because I had a lot of free time in my hands. So I did the history courses, online history courses and shit. So I studying Russian on the side, just trying to put myself in a position where I can adapt as quickly as I can and take the culture shock to the minimal.
Right. Do you feel like that also helped you maybe enjoy the place you were in by doing a little bit of a dive into the history?
Instead of questioning why people are like that, I'm just trying to understand. I'm still questioning why, but I have a ground to build up on. Oh, okay, they're like this, so they behave like that, or have some sort of an insight.
Do you
and not Actually, should.
Do you know much about, this is kind of an off the wall question, but do you know much
Yeah,
about Rasputin?
I think so.
Yeah, I just learned about him a little bit. He was like born a peasant and ended up being like a religious healer to the king and queen, and
He has a sick fucking beard. That's for
he's
sure.
got a good beard. And he was also
Yeah,
supposedly like sleeping with the Russian queen, and all the high level Russian officials ended up having him murdered. Like it's a super interesting story. If anybody's got the time to look it up,
yeah.
I
He's a
won't focus on
mystical
that.
advisor.
Yes, exactly.
That's a fucking beautiful job description.
Yeah, he's a really interesting story. I recommend that people take a listen to it or take a look to it. So anyway, Emre, I want to get back to the topic of like where you and I met.
Yeah.
We met in Bali primarily, but at the time you were on a trip in Southeast Asia for several months,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. 6 months. Over 6 months.
So what happened in that 6 months? Where did you start? You know?
I was supposed to start from Nepal. So I met this guy. He does boutique tours that he takes Turkish people all around the world. So he traveled to over 100 countries, like crazy guy, and he worked as save and rescue in Everest and Himalayas, and cool as fuck guy, cool guy. So I met him one day, and this is right after Russia, and I'm thinking, okay, what do I do next? What's my next step? And I always knew I wanted to travel, so there was this guy who'd been all around the world, and I went to see him one day, and we just started talking about travel, and I just, after 30 minutes, he pretty much gifted me a tour of Nepal for 10 days.
Mm.
Yeah, so that was a fucking sign that I said, okay, I guess I'm going to Asia.
So
So
you met this guy where?
Istanbul.
Okay, and
In
he ran
Istanbul,
tours.
he gave me a 10-day tour of Nepal for free.
Wow.
Which is fucking incredible. Still love the guy to this day. I just met him a couple months ago.
You want to give him a plug? You want to tell people who he is?
Seyahane. Seyahane is the name of his tour company. I'll do some things with him in the future. I'll make sure I pay my debts. So no questions about
Yeah,
that.
we'll put a link.
Yeah.
We'll put a link in the description, so if
Fuck
somebody
yeah,
hears
bro.
that they
Yeah,
can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Of course.
So yeah, that I was supposed to go to Nepal, but then all of a sudden I realized I didn't want to wait that long, so I booked a flight to Thailand. I missed my flight the first day. I had a connection flight to Moscow, and I missed my connection flight. Fun fact, if you miss your connection flights, you need to leave the country within 24 hours if you don't have a visa. So I had an exciting 24 hours because the same company that I missed the flight with had a flight in like 15 minutes after a day. So it wasn't working. I was in Moscow, and nobody was friendly in any sense. With my little knowledge of Russian, I did my best, but it didn't work. Then I went to Thailand. I got attacked by an elephant in the national park. Then I went to Bali. First of February.
You can't just glaze over attacked by an elephant. I think we need a little
Yeah.
context here.
So I was I don't know, like the first week of my travels, I was still in Bangkok, and I got kicked out of one of the hostels for just fuck that reason. Nothing serious. And I was like, okay, fuck this city. I'm gonna go somewhere else. And I just found this Khao Yai National Park, a couple hours outside of Bangkok. I went there. I stayed there for like 2-3 days, and I was with a friend, Matt, and we got a jeep. We were driving around with a tour guide and shit. It's like gorgeous, tropical, rainforest. It's beautiful. I just came from Middle East. This is a completely different world. And throughout the day. So by the way, while we're traveling in the park, whenever I see someone walking, I just pick them up to our car, so we have more people, more people to talk with and just socialize and stuff. So the entire day we looked for elephants, and at the end of the day, literally as we're going back, we saw the elephants because it's a huge park. There's a one, and you don't always run into them. And we got a little too excited and got too close to take pictures, and the elephant pretty much roared and run towards us for a couple of steps. It was like a bit, I'm gonna say scary in some sense, but it was beautiful nonetheless. I didn't die.
What'd you guys do? Just throw the car in reverse and get out of there?
well, I mean, so the car was 100 meters away. The car was 150 meters away. The closest person to us was about 100 meters away. We got too close to the elephant, man, with my friends, with Matt. We got excited because we saw elephants.
And there's not a lot of
Luckily,
regulation. There's not a lot of people watching you, telling you, "Hey, you don't want to get too
bro,
close."
it's a huge park with, you know, it's their natural habitat. They're the
Right.
ones that was. I think that's what he said to me. The elephant, like, this is my area.
But you don't speak Thai, so you didn't understand.
Or elephants.
Or
Yeah,
elephant Thai.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's what happened in Thailand. Nothing happened. Then I went to Bali. A couple of weeks in Bali, but it was the rain season, and you know it wasn't the right time for me to be in Bali. Then I went to Komodo for 3 nights, 4 days. Fucking gorgeous, like one of the best times of my, like one of the highlights of my trip.
Yeah, for those who
And
don't know, Komodo National Park and Komodo Island is the only place in the world where the Komodo dragons exist. These big giant lizards.
dragons.
But I think they're actually struggling maintaining them. I think
I think they're closed down right now.
Yeah.
Because of the pollution or something.
Pollution. I think they had too much tourism. I think the people that were caring for the Komodo dragons were also just feeding them, so they were kind of losing their wild kind of nature about them. So they're trying to fix it.
They still look scary as fuck though.
They're huge. They're like alligator size. You know, I don't know.
I mean, the only protection that you have over there is there's this guard with a stick in his hand, and they tell you this, like, if those fuckers decide to chase you, they can get fast, like 15 kilometers or something, or 20. But the thing is, they cannot go zigzag, so they cannot make any turns. So that's what they tell you: if they start chasing you, make a fucking turn.
Oh man, I don't even remember them telling me that. I just remember they have that long stick that spears off into two ends. So basically, they can just kind of poke them and keep them maybe like 6 feet away from you. Anyway, so you're in Komodo.
Yeah,
rainy
Komodo.
season.
I got back from Komodo. This is about like the third week of my travel, and I'm back in Labuan Bajo, I guess, the fisherman village right next to Komodo. And so I got to look back. So I'm 3 weeks in. I'm thinking about, okay, how is this going? Because I had all these plans about what I was going to do, what I was going to see, and all the shit. And at this point, I had enough data to look back and see how it's going. And it had nothing to do with the way I was planning things to go. Like, absolutely nothing. But it was the best time of my life. So I decided, okay, what happens if I stop making any plans and just fucking roll with it? So the next 5 months of my life, the traveling 5 months, I had no plans. Best time of my life.
So
best time of my life.
So
I realized plans are just a way that our mind tricks us that we're in control, whereas in reality we're not. Look at the fucking pandemic going on.
Right. So the start of this trip was very typical. You booked a tour in Nepal. Everything was very structured, but within a month, 2 months, not even, you just threw caution to the wind and you were just saying like, oh, I met some cool people. They're going to this country.
Even before I went to Nepal a week after Komodo. So I booked everything. I just couldn't wait. So I just went on before the tour, traveled for a month, went to Nepal with the tour for 10 days. And then I spent a couple of weeks in Himalayas, and life was good, man. Back then, life was really good.
I mean, life is still good. It's just different. And I think in the future, especially with everything going on in COVID, it's going to have to evolve. But things are going to come back. And, hopefully the whole point of this podcast is going to help people navigate the travel world a bit better and give them some resources. Or worst case scenarios, we're just going to be talking about the heyday in which we had all these freedoms and this ability to go wherever we wanted. Something I wanted to kind of get your 2 cents on is a lot of people have talked to me about traveling and taking significant amount of time off, and
Hmm.
it's always looked at, for the most part, I do have to generalize here to be able to talk about anything, but
Hmm.
people say like, oh my gosh, how did you take so much time off work? How were you able to afford it?
That's
What are you coming back to? All these questions. And it's like, if you stay at a five-star resort and you're taking first class flights, you're not going to last long. I don't care how much money you
exactly.
have. It's not a sustainable way of traveling. Or if you go to a country and you say, let's just use Spain as example. People go 2 days Madrid, 2 days Barcelona, 2 days San Sebastian, then they go to Portugal. It's like you are going to be exhausted, and there's no way you're going to be able to keep this kind of behavior up. But if you're taking buses and trains and staying at the cheapest, basically the cheapest accommodation you can tolerate, it's like you start seeing all the benefits of the country, and you start eating the local food, and you start talking to the local people, and you meet people from all over these countries that are in this same country doing the same thing that you're doing. All of a sudden, what looked crazy from your home country perspective, you meet all these people in this country that are not from there doing the same thing you are. It's like, oh, I'm actually kind of generic. Like, there's a lot of
Exactly.
people doing the same stuff, and it's like almost kind of calming, because initially you feel like, whoa, I was really doing something that nobody did before, and then you actually physically get to meet these people that are living a similar life that you are. So
And people that have already done the things that you are so excited that you're
exactly.
experiencing. So
So
it just
that's also a big reason of why we're trying to do this, is I'm trying to collect that information so that it's not something that you have to get person to person
exactly.
in a real location. It's something that you can get digitally, and it's not just a
Okay,
beautiful picture of a beautiful background. It's like real hardcore information. Anyway, the point of my question is like, is that kind of where you started? Is that what happened to
no,
you a
no,
little
no,
bit?
no. I mean, okay. I first thing is time is always there. So you don't find time. You just decide what is more important to you, what's your priority, and you go for it. And to me, it was traveling. That's how I had the time. Time was like I had to work, I had to study, I had to do this, I had to do that. But I just wanted to travel more than I wanted to do anything other than that. So I did that. That's my take on this.
Right.
And coming so the most common thing that I hear when I talk about traveling with people from Turkey is they're afraid that they will not come back. To me, that's the craziest thing, because if you do not come back, it means you found somewhere you would be happier and you decide to stay there. And if you found the
When you
happier
say they're
state,
afraid,
what
when you say they're afraid not to come back, what do you mean by that?
they're scared. They're scared that they're gonna not come back, and not coming back. Going out of the comfort zone is a not easy thing to do for many people, and the idea of not returning back to a comfort zone is something they're completely not used to. So I understand why they're afraid in some sense. But then again, if you leave and decide not to come back, that means you created or found some place that fits you better. So that's I don't understand it's a uh, I understand why they're afraid, but the potential outcome, one way or another, is going to be beneficial for you. So
Right.
just go, just book a flight. That's the
Sure.
only thing. Just book a flight and go. The
But
rest will
but
happen the way it's supposed to happen.
how do people come to that conclusion that the risk that they're going to take is actually going to be beneficial?
Uh, to me, I can speak. Okay, so I've been to about 30 countries. I haven't been to that many countries, but I spend a lot of times I spend about a month in the countries that I've been to. Little over a month every country I've been to on
Yeah,
average.
same.
And so the thing that I saw is there isn't a single country that I will not go back to. There are some that I had bad experiences. There are some I had incredible experiences, but those are my experiences depending on the exact moment that I was there.
Mm,
No matter what happened, no matter how it happened, there are always uh, there are always things that I can learn from throughout my travel experiences. And
mm.
to me, that's something that I decided very early on, because I wanted to have fun, but I wanted to grow as an individual as well. And I found traveling as a way to do both of them at the same time. Because usually you get either one or the other. You don't get to have fun and grow as an individual that often in the many fields. And
Yeah.
to me, traveling was one that I get to grow as a person, see different perspectives, see different lives, and two, I had so much fun. Like no matter, even if I didn't grow, even the slightest bit, I had so much fun. It was okay. Whereas I did, so it's a win-win. It was a win-win for me. And when it comes to deciding of letting go, in some sense, it's just buy the ticket. That's all you have to do. Right. Anything other than that, any other thing that you say other than buying the ticket, it's just an excuse that your mind is trying to keep you within the comfort zone.
Right.
Buy the ticket and the rest will sort itself out.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sympathetic. There are real barriers out there that hold people back, but there are no barriers that are impossible to traverse.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you said, you made it your number one priority, and when it's your number one priority, you find a way to make it happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't come from a culture that accepts what I do. No one. I mean, it wasn't easy for them. It's okay. One, I cannot expect them to understand it because it's not normal here.
Did you get a lot of pushback when you decided to take this time off?
When I decided to take it, when I took it, when I came back, it's just, you know, I understand. I can put myself in their shoes. If they accepted I was right, they accept that they were wrong. So it's always easier to point fingers other than trying to find blaming yourself. So I understand. And all I try to do is like I'll put a smile and I'll take on whatever they say, and I just try to convince them to go and travel. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of had similar experiences. You know, telling people buy the ticket, jump off. You know, the cliff, the parachute will open, all these things. But there's a lot of time and energy spent into developing your place in your local community, whether it be the house that you own or the apartment that you rent or the job that you have or the group of friends. And when you leave, you know, there's a void there, and that void will be filled by somebody else, you know, whether it's a job.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh no. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just the nature of things. But when you come back, I think most people will find a spot to fill that was better than their previous spot.
I think if you travel the right way, if you, so there was the spot that you used to fill before you travel. You travel the right way. You see beautiful places. You meet beautiful people. Then you come back and you're bigger than you were. So you cannot fit into the spot that you were before. So you're going to find the better spot for yourself. Right. So coming back to the spot that you left, that's a no-brainer. You can easy because people and things don't change as quick as you do once you travel.
And just to add to that, I don't want people to think that you're a better or worse person by doing any of these specific things, because that's kind of subjective. But what you are is you are different. Yeah. I will say that to people. I'm not saying that traveling is the answer to make everybody a better person, by no means. But
I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, of course. And I just want to share with others that it's an option. It's like going to the gym. You're going to be a different person. Yeah. If you eat healthier, you're going to be a different person. If you smoke or drink too much, you're going to be a different person because of it. So this is something that feeds into that as well. For better or for worse. And I definitely have seen the positives that it brings. A lot of people have a better understanding, a better patience, and a willingness to kind of, you know, understand and look at people in a way that is, you know, why are you the way you are? Is it a cultural thing? Is it a geographical thing? Is it a religious thing? You start looking at the world as a summation of all moving parts. And I like looking at the world like that. And when I meet people that have spent a good amount of time out of their home country, they sometimes sympathize to that sort of perspective. But back to your point. Point.
And another thing in that regard is, so one of the, I met this guy, same age as me. He's born in 94. I met this guy he's from Tibet. He's a refugee from Tibet living in Nepal. He's selling rings and necklaces in one of the villages in Himalayas on the trek, up on the trek. So this guy, same age as me, and a completely different life. And this guy doesn't travel. He's working. He's trying to make the ends meet. And I just clicked with him. I just, you know, everything that he told me about his life. I told him about my life, and it just made sense. And we just clicked. And from a perspective of a guy from Istanbul, there's no chance I will connect with a guy with that background or that being that he is on paper.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, once you give people a chance, once you say hi, the way I think about it is, if you get turned down enough, if you say hi to enough people and enough people don't say hi back to you, you don't mind if the next one says hi or not. So you just keep on having this positive attitude towards meeting people. And eventually you will run into people with the most random backgrounds, with the most random stories that's going to make so much sense to you that pretty much will make you understand life from a different perspective. That's what
100%. 100%. There are so many fascinating stories I've heard from relatively average people that you'll never hear these stories unless you put yourself in these positions. And I'm hoping again that this podcast is going to put some of those stories out into the world. So with everything that's been going on in the world lately, where do you see, the evolution of travel and vacation, and do you think we're going to be able to get back to somewhat what we used to be able to do, which is, packing up whatever you can carry and getting a visa and going somewhere?
I think we will.
Yeah.
At least I know I'm going to give it a shot in the next couple of months. I'm contemplating about South America.
Right.
That's something that really excites me these days.
Mm-hmm. Little side note, I'm getting my Peruvian citizenship next week.
That's random. That's
super random. Well, just to let everybody know, my mother's born and raised in Peru. She's a Peruvian citizen who came to America, and Peru changed.
Just for in topic, my mom is from Georgian roots, and my dad is from Hatay, right next to the Syrian border. And that's the fucking craziest thing. Okay, so my dad is from the village right next to the Syrian border.
Yeah. Oh, also, quick side note: Emre's dad is like an amazing ping pong player, world champion.
Yeah. Nah, he won against like 10 sets against 0 against you.
I didn't win. I don't think I won a single point that he didn't let me win. Like, I consider myself a fairly good player, but this man is next level. He is unreal.
And you flew in from Bali. You're like fucking jet lagged and tired, and he didn't even let you win a single set just to make you feel good.
He fed me breakfast. We walked over to the rec center in Istanbul, and we just went at it ping pong. And I was dripping sweat. The guy didn't break a sweat at all. And I was 30 at the time, and your dad is how old?
50 something.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I gotta go practice my ping pong. Anyway, tell me more about your dad and the Syrian border.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just. So my dad is from the village right next to the border. So if he was born in the next village, I would have been a Syrian refugee. Like the border you can see right from the village. So I'm lucky as it gets. That's the way I take on life. I'm lucky, no questions. But what he did, I mean, the reason why we met, the reason why I travel as much is because of him. So he always traveled abroad because he came from this village, from this tiny city. So traveling abroad was something that he was obsessively chasing to some regard. If I'm this obsessive about this, imagine, from a guy from Hatay to have a son like this, how, if he wasn't traveling as much, I wouldn't be traveling this much.
Right. And you travel even more than he did.
Yeah, I travel.
So he thinks you're a little bit nutty, even.
Yeah, a little. A little.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who travel for long periods of time, I think their families all think that they're a little nutty because it's not something that a lot of people do traditionally.
Yeah, I mean, I fucking love my family. They try to relate. They try to understand. But once there's this thing about traveling long term. Once you leave and once you come back again, you don't necessarily come back as the same guy.
Yeah.
Your perception about life changes. Your perception about yourself changes. At core, you're the same, no doubt. But a lot of things change. And people that see you after a long time, they assume you're the same kid that just left. Whereas in reality, it's not necessarily true. So there's a little bit of a challenge of adapting back to, but once you do, it's all love. It's beautiful, I'm so glad I got to spend this time with my family the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Now they moved out of Istanbul. We just adopted a dog today. So for the family, it's beautiful times. They're happy. They live in this gorgeous village down in the where the Aegean and Mediterranean coast in Turkey meets. It's this tiny village called Selimiye. If anyone decides to come to Turkey and go to those regions, hit me up. I'll be more than happy to help.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
If anybody listening ends up making their way to Turkey, please put a comment or write. We'll put you in touch with Emre. He's probably the best host I could ever ask for. When I spent, I spent 2 or 3 weeks there.
I think about 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. It was basically a 2-week layover on my way to the Netherlands, on my way back to America. And I gotta say, man, you really showed me so much more of what Turkey is than I ever thought it was, because it is a massive country. It is so big and so sprawling, and you have almost every type of climate, every type of terrain.
Yeah, we have 4 seasons. Everything is here. I mean, the seaside is gorgeous. And the time you came in about late November, about December.
It was so cold.
So it wasn't warm. It was a bit cold.
So cold.
A little cold. We did Cappadocia, which is a beautiful couples holiday. Not best gone with a bold American guy. Just so you guys know. But yeah, I mean, we had a road trip about 800 kilometers inside the country and back, so a little more, 1,500 kilometers.
I remember
for 4 days.
I don't know if it was before or after Cappadocia. Is it Cappadocia? Cappadocia.
Yeah, Cappadocia.
I don't remember if it was before or after that, but we went to this mountain valley to just kind of take in all the trees and look at it.
After we went to
we almost ran out of
7
gas.
Lakes. Yeah, a friend of mine had a house there. We went to his house after.
But I remember we went like up, and then we went down into this river valley in the car, and we got to the bottom of it. And who was your name of your friend that we were with?
Burak.
Burak's like, hey, we don't really have any gas.
Yeah.
And I was like, we are gonna freeze to death out here if we don't make it, to the top of this hill, because we can roll down.
You're American.
Yeah, I was concerned for sure. Anyway, Emre, we've been talking here for about just shy of an hour. Is there anything else that you want to touch on, or anything you want to share?
Anything I want to share?
I mean, this is your time. This is your episode.
This is exciting.
I appreciate you coming on here. By the way, I appreciate you coming on here and giving your time and your perspective.
Anytime you want.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back. But so I guess, what are the biggest advantages, or what could you tell people that are maybe on the fence about traveling, or people who think it's like
what else you have better to do other than traveling? That's the question I have to people.
Say that again.
What else is better than traveling that you have on your hands right now? That's the question. If there is something better than traveling that you would rather do, then do that. Whereas to me, if there's nothing more fun than traveling that I can do at the moment, I'll go and travel anytime.
I think that's an excellent point. I think it really boils down to, you got to do what you love. And if traveling is what you love, go and travel. If doing something else is your number one priority and it brings you all the joy in the world, then you should definitely go do that. I think for the sake of this podcast and for me and you, it just happens to be dropping yourself in a random country, in a random city where people probably don't speak the same language as you, and you just figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is, don't be afraid to take a step, because I know it's not easy to get out of the comfort zone that you have, the area that you feel usually what happens is people take a step and come back and see it's okay, then take 2 steps and come back, 3 steps and come back. Just take a leap of faith. Trust me, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to end it, Emre.